Warning, may contain Dracula, 100% hemp tuxedos, delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, the cleaner of the forest, and, or peanuts. I am Woodstock.
Well, Ionut, thank you so much for agreeing to welcome me into your business. Ionut is the founder of IONESCU. Did I say it correctly?
Perfect pronunciation.
Fantastic. He's been giving me a little bit of a crash course in Romanian, which I found is a Latin language, the closest to actual Latin. And
Grammatically speaking.
Grammatically speaking.
Yes.
You said Italian.
Vocabulary speaking.
And I'm not sure how he knows so much, but yesterday he gave me an amazing tour of Sibiu, which I am now aware is one of the most amazing cities on the face of the planet. And it's right in the heart of Transylvania, where our good friend Dracula lives. And so I am ecstatic to be able to sit here and record with you. And I definitely want to highlight and talk a lot about your business because I'm definitely impressed by it. And that's how I actually found out about you. So Ionut, that is a crazy awesome name. I hope I'm saying it 100% correctly. But
yes.
Tell us about your company and tell us about you, and the floor is yours. I want to hear it all.
Well, first let's thank you very much for coming here, as it's the proverb in Sanskrit, Atiti Devo Bhava, which means the guest is God. So you being our guest in here, of course, we treat you with the highest esteem. Second, maybe to give a shout out to Bob, because he's the one bringing us together here. So I salute him, we salute him, and I thank him very much for this warm recommendation. All right, right, our business. So we are hempsters, if you want, and vagabonds at the same time. And we work just with hemp. We have a hemp textile company. We use no blends because we say that you never mix champagne with sparkling water, and thus and therefore we just use 100% hemp fabric for our products.
So why hemp?
Well, it's probably the question that I get the most, to be honest. Everyone is curious why hemp. For a couple of reasons. Mainly because it had such a long history in our country, and we can relate to it. And my family worked in hemp fields. During the communist era, Romania was the largest producer in Europe, and the third largest producer in the world after the Soviet Union and after China. And thus we have, let's say, I stay on the shoulder of the great, in other words, and I feel very lucky that before me there were other people very much interested in how to process this fiber until you get very fine textiles, because that's what we are known for in Romania, in Eastern Europe, for great hemp textiles. And this is something recommended to people even by Jack Herer in The Emperor Wears No Clothes, where he mentioned that you can get excellent hemp textile from Romania and from China. China has also a long history. It's just that the processing, it's a little bit different in what are we doing. But so hemp, because we have a long history in our country, because it's such a cool plant, it's such an amazing plant. Not everything is good about the plant, don't get me wrong, but it's and obviously many stigmas. It's a controversial plant. It's a plant that you can use it in all sorts of things. They say that it has 25,000 uses. I think it has double that, especially because you can use it in food. You can make just 50,000 ways to cook with hemp seeds and hemp oil. You can put it in everything, and you can build houses, and you can wear excellent, breathable, sustainable, organic clothes. And you can replace basically the trees. You can make hemp wood. You can do hemp carton boxes. You can do hemp paper. You can eat it. It's a very old legend in India saying that Buddha lived just with one seed of hemp per day. And it has excellent nutritional values. So it's simply an unbelievable plant. it's incredible. It's an incredible plant that I hope with what we are doing to bring it back into the community's life.
You mentioned yesterday that hemp not only is an amazing plant as far as what it can give, but as far as when you grow it, there's a lot of talk right now in the world about sustainability, and single crop and large crops have an issue with depleting the land. And you mentioned something about how back in the day, the farmers would actually use hemp to kind of heal the land. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. That's a very interesting comparison with the flax plant or with linen, for example, because once you cultivate linen on a field, the next crop, it's pretty much compromised. You can only put linen or something that you know that you're not going to need much. In comparison, hemp does quite the opposite because it makes the land more fertile. So back in the old days, the communists in my grandma's and grandpa's villages, they used to grow hemp on a crop, and the next year they would put corn because they know that the corn is going to be more fruitful. It's going to be a more fruitful crop. They're going to put potatoes the next year. So they would always rotate the crop around hemp, which is a funny thing, and I don't know how they figured that out back in the day, but it's a very interesting thing. Yeah, also because hemp, it's easy to grow. I mean, it's easy not from a legislation point of view, because in some countries it might be more or less difficult, but from the point of view of the plant, if you cultivate it for textiles, again, I don't have much experience in cultivating it for CBD or for the high cousin of it, but for textile it grows very easily. It grows very easily because you require no insecticides, no pesticides, very little amount of water. So that's why they call it a weed, because it simply grows like a random wild weed.
But really big, though. I was actually really surprised how large you said they get. What did you say they were, like 3 meters or 5 meters?
Yeah, you can get for textile you can get between 3 to 5 meters.
So for the Americans, that's about over 15 feet tall. So we're talking about pretty much trees here that grow in, you cut down, and then regrow the very next season.
Yes, that's also very interesting how you harvest it. It's also for those that are particularly interested in this process, it's also a difference in how you harvest linen and how you harvest hemp, because there's plants, let's say, from the same family in a way. But linen, you pull it out of the ground with the bulb. You pull it out of the ground, while hemp, you cut it. You don't take it out of the ground, you cut it. And then the first thing, it's the field drying. So with linen, you just leave it on the ground. It's called field drying, basically. And you do also this type of retting stage where you just leave it on the ground. Hemp, you cannot do that. You need to put it in water. If you want to do water retting. So after you harvest it, you leave it a little bit on the ground, but then you need to put it in water. And here there used to be big pools of water, and unfortunately less and less people are using that because water is expensive. Water is now a commodity. They trade it at the New York Stock Exchange. It's going to be the new gold, seeds and water and land. It's going to be the new gold. So they don't do a lot of that. Now they try to do enzyme retting, and there are like many options to do. And I don't know if this is technical language. Maybe people are not interested in technical language.
I am. So who cares what people think? I'm here for me.
Excellent. Right.
So when did you decide that you wanted to be because you mentioned that it's 100% hemp with the few slight, you mentioned the pockets, maybe linen.
No, the pocket is still hemp. Sometimes for certain products, we do the lining.
Oh, the lining.
The lining, the inside lining. In some cases, we do linen, because linen, it's linen. Again, as technical language, but it's a short plant. It's a, let's say, 1 meter plant. Thus, the fiber is not that thick like for hemp, so it's very easy to process. That's why you find it everywhere. It's very easy to find. You can find at the local shopping mall a linen shirt, which is not the case for hemp. Also because hemp has another reputation. But you harvest this linen, and it comes from it's a very famous product in Western Europe. Like most of it comes from Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Italy. Very popular linen there. Also, you find a lot in China, of course, and in India. But India is mostly for cotton. They have a big industry for cotton, and it's very thin because it's a short plant. It's easy to process, and it comes from the French lingerie. So type of underwear is what women used to wear back in the days as the first layer for their skin. Hemp was a little bit more rough, thus is a second layer on the skin, like a jacket. So sometimes we put the sleeves, the lining for the sleeves, we do with linen because it's just perfect if you take your jacket or your suit jacket with a t-shirt in a casual way. So that's really good. And we do all our suit jackets half lined because we want more breathability and to feel on the back the hemp fabric. So it's basically we do just the sleeves with linen and some parts of the back. But in case a client wants to do 100% hemp, we can also put 100% hemp in the sleeve lining, no problem.
And so the exterior is 100% hemp, with the exception of this awesome thing that's right behind you. Anyone who's watching the video can see that they have a tuxedo with some satin going on.
Yeah,
which I love. I'm gonna have to save up for that one.
Yes, it's a hemp tuxedo, because we thought to change a little bit the stigma around hemp. Because when people think about hemp clothes, maybe most of the people think about boho, bourgeoisie type of bourgeois bohème, as the French call it, like a type of laissez-faire, laid-back, Alibaba pants, t-shirts, sweatshirts, etc. Most of the time, these are not 100% hemp. They are 55% hemp, 45% organic cotton. People are in the hemp market, they know about them. So we tried to change the stigma and try, okay, you can make with hemp pretty much anything, and you can make something totally new. Like, why not wear a hemp tuxedo at the Oscars? Like, I don't know, someone like Woody Harrelson, or people that are really into hemp, because Woody Harrelson was arrested, I think, for growing industrial hemp in Kentucky in the 90s.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I love Woody.
Yeah, me too. Or like Matthew McConaughey, because he's from your place, right? So they're big hemp fans. So why not? Why wouldn't they wear a hemp tuxedo at the Oscars?
I can see Bill Murray here wearing a hemp tuxedo for sure.
Exactly. Because want to tell people, look, you can have an office job. You don't need to be a hippie to wear hemp. You can work on the Wall Street. You can work at the European Parliament in Brussels. You can work at the court in The Hague in the Netherlands, and you can have a hemp suit. So it's a shout out to all the hemp lovers that don't want to wear, because if you're a hemp lover, if you're a cannabis executive, I mean, you have a business in the hemp world, and you have a polyester suit while you talk about how great hemp is, it's I don't know, it's just funny.
I actually had a cannabis executive on the show. Shout out to TK. He has a CBD company that's very successful. He does a lot of good work for vets in the military, helping them out. Because as we know, not only can it make amazing clothing, but there is, as you mentioned, a lot of other uses. And right now, there's a huge push in the U.S. to try to get it a lot more available for medicinal purposes, whether it's epilepsy or people with inflammation issues from PTSD.
Dyslexia.
So, yeah, there's a huge laundry list of things that this plant can be used for. And the fact that it's a more sustainable crop, the fact that you can have a byproduct, or the byproduct that many people right now are unfortunately throwing away, can potentially be used for other products. Maybe not, as you pointed out. Maybe we can get into the long fiber versus the short fiber. I found that very fascinating. You mentioned that a lot of the plants that are grown, you can't just take a normal, let's say a weed, a marijuana plant that a guy is growing up in British Columbia and make a fine suit like yours, right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So it's in processing after you harvest it, right? You cut it, you put it in water. You have an engineer telling you, okay, you need to keep this hemp plant, this bundle of plants in this type of water at this temperature for 10 days, 11 days, 12 days, based on the quality that he assesses there.
And each round is completely different. He has to go every single time you put the new bundle in. A guy's got to come and check it out.
Yeah, because back in the days in Romania, they used to cultivate a lot. So, and sometimes let's imagine that you have hemp on a hill. Maybe it's not a flat surface. Maybe it's a hill. So the plants at the top of the hill, they're going to mature faster than the plants at the bottom of the hill. So you don't put all of them together in the same water, the same temperature. You need a special treatment for those, even though it's just a couple of days or a couple of 2-3 degrees difference. It matters a lot. So after you put them in water, you do the breaking stage. And the thing is, if you grow hemp for CBD or for weed, for marijuana, you're going to obtain short fiber. Out of this short fiber, what I would suggest anyone doing it is definitely don't throw it away. Definitely process it. Try to find some processing facility around you, or in your state, or in anywhere in the country, or in North America or in Central America, whatever, that you can use it. Because why the communists love so much this plant is because they love production. Communists were always about production. Like if two lovers were in the park loving each other, they wanted them to talk about production. That was important. So and that's why it's good plant, because you never throw anything away. You can use every single little part of it. So for short fiber, it would be great if people can make hempcrete, which is probably the most popular. Everyone heard about it. You make houses, but you can also use it to make paper, or you can use it to make carton boxes. You can use this short fiber for animal bedding. It's the royal house of the United Kingdom used to buy hemp animal bedding from Romania for the royal horses. So you can use it in a plenty of way, but you should definitely cannot use it for suits. You cannot use it because you need the fine textile, and for fine textile you need like 2 meters fiber, 1.5 meters, 2 meters, which is like 80 inches, 78 inches fiber.
So you say the plants can get up to 5 meters. Can you get multiple lengths out of that, or is it just one strand?
You need to get 2, because it depends on the carding machineries that you have. So, and if carding machinery will work best, because an engineer will tell you, look, in order to work best, we need this to be at 2 meters. If we do it at 5, it might be caught somewhere, it might do something not good for it. So an engineer would advise you, okay, we need this size, basically.
Where are you finding these engineers that just happen to know how to work with hemp?
That's well, they were trained back in days. Now everyone studies business, and it's so vague that it's a nothing about nothing type of university. You do everything, and at the end of it, you can do anything, which is great, but you have no specialization, no unique skill. You're not a carpenter, you're not anything like this. You just do business. I did business, I studied business. But back in the days, people were trained, were educated. They used to study hemp as a textile plant at the university. So there was a teacher, and I met the one teacher like this. She was 83. She had courses. She just like you would go to any university and talk about hemp from a textile plant point of view. From the point of view of the plant, you don't have nothing to do with the high cousin, you have nothing to do with the stigma that is around it, but you study, because that's what we should do. If we want to eliminate this stigma around it, we need to study it to find out about its pros and cons. And there are also cons to it, and it's interesting to say, because the water where you keep the plant during retting, it's detrimental for the environment. So back in the days, people in Romania, they didn't have pools of water, but they have the local river. So they used to just leave the plant in the river, and then they found dead fishes. And so not everything is good about a plant. Obviously, nothing
That's the one bad thing about this amazing plant.
That's one bad thing about it kills the fishes if you leave it for a long time in water.
So what's the solution? Is there?
Yeah, you need to do a water filtration system.
So it's pretty expensive to process it?
Yeah, it is. It is expensive to process it. Maybe to do a water filtration system is like €1 million, which is like, I don't know, $1.2, $1.3 million.
Wow.
If you do a proper water filtration system, thus to put it back in the nature in a green way, to put it ecologically back in the nature. And
so you said that they did this back in the USSR. It was one of the bigger production, I guess, the facilities. The reason that you can do it here in Romania, where most places in the world, especially over in the States, don't have the capability, is because is there leftover machinery from back in the day?
Yeah, like a short history, if anyone is interested, is that after the Second World War, Romania had to pay, they had a debt to the Soviet Union, which was $300 million, which is a few billions now. And the Soviets, they were the good guys. They defeated Hitler, Stalingrad. Everyone loved them, including the Americans. Everyone loved them after the war. And so we had a debt. In Romania, people were always a little bit restrained. They were a little bit, maybe not afraid, but historically speaking, we've been in a place that many empires were around. So the Turks, the Ottoman Empire, used to cross the Black Sea and invade a lot the south. That's why there is a lot of influence in the south of Romania, and you can eat also very good kebab at the same time now.
Love kebabs.
Excellent, me too. And then just vegetarian ones for me though. But from the north there was the Habsburgic Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which used to, for instance, they used to own this place where we are now. Traditionally, historically speaking, Transylvania always belonged to Romania. Before the Hungarians came here, it belonged to the Romanians, but then they got it for a while, and then we got it back, and now that's our national day when Transylvania unified again with Romania, 1st of December. And there was also the Russians. They used to came and take a little bit of the part, and then the European Union came and they wanted, and then the Americans were always here of NATO. So it's, historically speaking, it's a country in a very funky geographic position, because
you're right in the middle of everything.
Exactly. So we owned a lot of money to the Soviets, and the Soviets said, all right, you will pay it back. We're going to get all your resources for nothing. So they brought in technology. They started to create it first some companies called Sovrom. I think there were 21 of them, if I'm not mistaken. Sovrom was a company half Soviet, half Romanian. And the Soviets, they used to come with the technology. And they opened Sovrom Films to make propaganda films. They opened Sovrom Steel, Sovrom Wood, Sovrom Iron. In all the major domains, they Sovrom Oil. So they would get the oil from the Black Sea. They would get the wood from Transylvania, because that's beyond the country, beyond the woods, the land beyond the woods, what it means, motamo in English. And so they also opened Sovrom Textiles. And in the 50s, which is the period known in our history as for the Soviet industrialization, they brought in a lot of machineries. People worked before with hemp. Ever since before the Romans came here, people processed hemp fiber, the hemp fiber. But the communists, what they did, they, as I was saying, that they were interested in production, they took everything that the peasant was doing in the back of his yard, and they created the machine around it. The very basic, this is 1950s, 1940s, 1950s. They created basically a machinery in which they could do the same process, but mechanically, but in an industrial way, because that was the Soviet industrialization. So they left the machinery in here. And afterwards, the Red Army left the country, because they had 1 million soldiers in Romania. And the machineries were kept here. And people started to continue to work on them. And in the 1970s, it was the Communist Party gave them like an update. Like okay, we understood how this machinery work now after 20 years. I think we can give them an improvement. Most of this machinery, like we still work with the 1953 machinery, so machinery that was put into function before Stalin's death.
Still today, that's
still
the machinery
today,
you
yeah,
use? Wow.
yeah. There is still one of them. One of them, it's that old, basically, and they work with them, and in the 1970s, as I was saying, the Communist Party gave them an update. So most of this machinery, maybe it's worth saying, it was a copycat. So most of them were copied. For instance, we are now weaving with an STB machinery, which people can search on YouTube and call STB weaving machinery. STB Sierra Tango Bingo weaving machinery, hemp fiber Romania, for instance, and it's a copycat after a German Schulzer machinery. But the Soviets were so well known back in the days for like copying stuff. Like they were joking that even if you see a brush somewhere, the Soviets would come, would copy it, and would put it back in their place.
Seems like communists are pretty good at that.
Yeah, they were doing that a lot. It actually started from the 30s, but when the Soviets, they used to send very, very smart people to MIT and to infiltrate them in the American schools, but high universities. And it started like way early to do this type of espionage and to steal a lot of secrets. And they did the same to the Germans. And thus many movies that you see about spies, double spies, triple spies, whatever. They did the same with this machinery, and thus we kept the machinery, and we started to work with them more and more and more. And in the 80s, Romania became very, very famous for this. I mean, we're talking about a time when hemp was illegal around the world, North America.
Due to the psychoactive part of it?
Yeah, because of that. Although there, as we talked, there are three different types of hemp. Plant, if you want.
Yeah, let's go through those right now.
Yeah, so very, very, very briefly, before going back to the history, you have Cannabis indica. This is historically speaking, because nowadays they create new strains and they mix a female with a male, and you can also find psychoactive sativa.
Yeah, like everything that anyone smokes nowadays, especially if it's like a hydro, as they say, it's 100% hybrid, right? They claim it's indica or sativa, but it's really not. It's a hybrid that has kind of a different feel one way or the other, right?
Yes, I think so, because they just created new mixes to bring new flavors, to bring new funky names to the market, so you don't just have like two options or one option or a few options. So you have Cannabis indica, which was traditionally the one that has THC, tetrahydrocannabinol -9, which is known for offering you a state of ecstasy, of pleasure, of whatever, and that was called Cannabis indica because traditionally, historically speaking, the Indian sadhus, the Indian babajis, the Indian holy people used to smoke it to deepen themselves in their meditation. And then you have Cannabis sativa L, which is known as, traditionally speaking, it's the industrial plant, it's the hemp. You cannot make a suit out of the Cannabis indica. You need Cannabis sativa, which doesn't have THC. Mathematically speaking, you need to smoke, I read somewhere, 1 hectare in less than 15 minutes, so you feel just slightly dizzy.
So is a hectare similar to an acre?
No, I think the hectare.
I've heard an hectare before, but I have no idea how much that is.
I think it's much more than that.
Oh, it's a lot
Yeah,
more.
I think it's much more.
So you're going to die from asphyxiation of smoke before you get stoned off of pure sativa.
Yeah. You industrial hemp plant, you cannot get high from it. So although we have a lot of questions asking us, can I smoke my suit? Can I smoke my trousers? And of course, we always say yes. We always say yes because it's just going to be a very expensive joint for you, and it's not going to get you any high. But yeah. Wait, that's a very common question. Then you have Cannabis ruderalis, which is wild hemp, and this was potentially the first type of plant that was discovered, pretty much. And there are like a couple of theories. Nobody knows where. I haven't read any book that claim for a fact and we know that cannabis comes from that part of the world. So some people say that it's the first time hemp plant came in connection with people, it was at Lake Baikal in Russia. Some people say that it was the foothills of the Himalayas. Some people say that it was in China. So, but we don't know for sure. There are a couple of theories saying that maybe women were the first one to interact with it, because during the while we were hunter-gatherers and just men were around hunting mammoths and just finding food, women were searching also for plants and fruits and whatever they could find. And they say that basically they found this plant and they saw that it has seeds, and they tasted the seeds and they thought, okay, this is good, we could use it. And they took the plant, they cut it, and they brought it back to the camp. But as they brought it back, some of the seeds remained on the land as they were coming, and then thus a hemp field appeared. And so they say this is how probably the first time women interacted, people interacted, was through women with hemp, and that was probably Cannabis ruderalis, wild hemp. Out of that, also you cannot make a suit, you cannot make proper textile. So yeah, so going back to the communists, in the 70s, in the 80s, Romania became quite an important player. It became like a cluster. We had 31 facilities to process hemp, and we had 4 what we call integrate. An integrate is a type of facility where you process everything from crop to shop, or as I heard an American call it, from dirt to shirt. So like basically you can under this facility you do all the stages, all the steps, and we had 4 of this kind. We used to cultivate a lot. 46,000 hectares was in 1989, the year that communism fell, and that's a lot, taking into consideration that I think the US last year cultivated around 30 or 33,000 hectares. I think it's going to cultivate much more. I think it's an uprising plant. It's definitely going to reach 100,000 hectares maybe in the next 5 years, because more and more people understand the benefits of it. And I think we can no longer live like we used to do during the Industrial Revolution. We need to find new ways to travel. We need to find new ways to get dressed, because we are so many people on this planet that it's no longer, I think, sustainable if we just use synthetic fibers, or if we just use cotton all the time. That was good in the 19th century, because first the populations were not just exploding, and then it was probably at the beginning we didn't know much about carbon emissions, negative carbon footprint, and all these things, and so let's say we're not guilty because we didn't know about them. But once you know, you need to act, basically. And hemp is one of the great things through which we can let's say we can give a couple of years more, let's say, to some crops. We can still breathe some fresh air, and I feel great about this, because you can when you wear something that it's like coming from the ground and there was no chemicals to it, I think it's also an interesting feeling. It's a particular feeling.
Well, I plan to have that feeling at some point. I've got to check out all of your repertoire and check out which stuff's going to fit me well as far as style goes. I have no style. As you can see, I'm wearing a Bill Murray t-shirt and I have some hiking shoes on, and it's pretty much what I have.
That is a style.
But I do like you have a bunch of different types of stuff. It's not just a typical suit. You have what you call the safari.
Yeah, this is a safari jacket, or a bush jacket, or a traveling jacket, or a cargo pocket jacket, whatever you want to call it. It's most of the jackets actually come from the military. This is a jacket that comes from Kenya, designed initially by the British when they were colonizing Africa. They needed some something. It has a lot of pockets because they needed a lot of pockets back in the days, and initially was made in cotton, in khaki cotton, khaki green color, and cotton. We just reinterpreted it. Basically, it's made now in 100% hemp. It's unlined, it's unstructured, so you have nothing but hemp. Basically, it's excellent if you want to travel. It's very comfortable. It's very
safari,
breathable.
I imagine it's something that you could wear in warmer weather, or is it pretty hot?
Yeah, I think I would say that some people use it for all seasons. I wouldn't, for instance, if it's winter, if it's a hard winter, if it's, I don't know, like Montana winter, or like I wouldn't go just with the safari jacket. Don't get me wrong, because it's unlined. It has nothing on the inside. If you line it with wool, then you can use it easily in this weather. Like it's snowing right now. But otherwise, I would use it for spring, summer, and autumn. Why not? But I wouldn't use it for winter. This model, this safari jacket. We also have a military jacket, which is with a Russian, what we call Russian collar, but some people call it Chinese collar, right? We have also the denim jacket, which is the American staple of the staple of the American fashion. If you want the Levi's model, we just reinterpreted it, making it 100% hemp. It's a jacket that everyone has one at home.
Yeah, did you mention that you use like the original design from like 1930 or a similar version? Did I get that right?
No, we never copy it perfectly. Like what I mean by that, I mean we always try to bring something to it, so it's
or an
not
homage
just,
to the
yeah,
old 1930s style.
Exactly, but we add some things on the inside. Maybe we add an extra 2 pockets. Maybe we change the pocket a little bit in a way, so we can come up with our own design in a way. Just slightly change the basic, and boom, you have a new jacket, a fresh jacket. Basically, we also have a trench coat, or a raglan, it depends how people know it, a trench coat. We have basically some zipper jackets. These are with buttons, the other ones have zipper. Also with a lot of pockets. We have shorts, trousers, chino trousers, more elegant trousers, like pleated trousers. Not many people though wear now pleated. I see that when we have orders, most of the people, they want chinos, flat front, very basic. But we also have pleated trousers like 1930s. We have another version of the pleated instance, like 1950s, more high-waisted, which is also something that men don't wear that much, but there are a few people that like high-waisted trousers. It's I think it's slowly going to come back into fashion. My favorites, we have waistcoats or vests. I don't know how you call them in the US. I love vests. I love waistcoats. We have a few. We have, I think, 5 or 6 styles. Basically, and we have suit jackets, caps like the one there. We have flat caps, baseball caps, beanies, scarves, table runners, and
yeah, you were showing me yesterday you have a line of scarves that are all limited edition, that you only made a few, like 100 or 250 of each color, and you number them all.
Yes, exactly. We had just initially we made a release of 100 pieces, and that was good. And then we made 250, and this is going to be the last one. So
you're gonna keep it at that.
Yeah. This is what we have left.
And those are all 100% hemp. Do they, I guess, try to describe to people what it would feel like? Because I don't think most people have been able to feel 100% hemp.
Right. I think it's difficult to describe how hemp feels like. It's like trying to describe how honey is like. It's you need to taste. It can be the whole Encyclopedia Britannica can tell you how honey is like, but if you don't taste it, you don't know, right? You need the immediate experience. So I can tell people how we process it, so maybe they can get an idea about how it feels. So we use no chemicals for it. Everything is done mechanically. Thus, there are some suit jackets, or let's say some military jackets, or denim jackets that are a little bit rough, or what people would feel rough. Some people want hemp to feel like cotton. I do not want that. I want hemp to feel like hemp. Levi's, if I can say their name here, or like Patagonia, maybe they want hemp to feel like cotton because they mix it. Well, if you look at the collection, they always have 30% hemp, 70% cotton, but they always advertise save the waters, where hemp is the next big thing, but they don't have 100% hemp because it's expensive to do 100% hemp, and you need people and you need specific machineries, and it's expensive again. So people, they like to mix it with cotton because you can find plenty of cotton yarn, you have the cotton machinery, it's okay. So some of them are a little bit rough, but they're okay because they're jackets. They have a good posture. They're not t-shirts. They're not shirts.
If you want a jean jacket, you want something that's a little bit more rough.
Yeah, you want something that is not going to break. You want something that someone can pull the jacket and it's going to stay intact.
So is it the same material you use for, say, your tuxedo?
No. So for the tuxedo, we do an extra step. We process it further. We pre-wash the fabric. Same for the trousers, same for the shorts. Because this, people, for the trousers, for example, for the chino trousers, they want to machine wash them. Nobody has time to go with them to dry cleaning with a pair of regular trousers. For a suit, you should always go to dry clean. It's a rule, it's the basic. But for a pair of regular trousers, you want to machine wash them. So we pre-wash them. We lose about 20% of the fabric, which is in this industry is a lot.
Yeah, that seems a lot.
It's a lot of fabric. So we pre-wash them, but by doing that, doesn't matter how many times you're going to wash them, they're always going to keep the same fit, the same size, the same measurement. They're not going to shrink. And by pre-washing them, we basically, they get a smoother touch. They get more smooth. We finish them also via a technology called airsoft technology. You shoot a lot of warm air through them, and so the fabric becomes softer. So thus it's pleasant also, like linen, to be as the first layer on the skin. For jackets, we don't do that because we want them to be a little bit more rough. So they're perfect as a second layer. You have a t-shirt with a jacket. That's totally fine. But yeah, you should try one so you see exactly how it feels.
All right, we took a quick pause I had to go blow my nose. We had a fantastic tour yesterday of the city, but it was snowing the whole time and pretty cold, so got a little nose sniffle. But so we were talking about just the various benefits of hemp. We were talking about the fabric specifically, so I wanted to continue on that. How durable is it? Right now, there's this big push because of sustainability to maybe purchase something that might be more expensive, but it's going to last you for life. So if I say bought a present for my wife and got her a scarf, how many washes is that scarf going to handle?
I don't know. To be honest, I do not know how many washes specifically, so I can tell you we've never done such tests. But I would say that if you buy a scarf for your wife, you buy a jacket, it's going to last you, I would say, so your kids could wear that jacket. Your kids will still have, your daughter will still have the scarf. So it's no reason for it to disintegrate in our lifetimes. Absolutely not. It depends it depends on your purchasing habits. If you like to buy brand new $5 t-shirts, let's say not vintage, no secondhand, no thrift shop t-shirts, right? If you get a brand new for $5, well, it's a higher cost that you pay a lot higher because that t-shirt is not going to last you long. You need to get a new one, and it's going to be another $5 and another $5, and it's like the very cheap option that you get. Same for the jacket. You get one of the denim jacket, you should have it for the rest of your life. There is no reason. I don't think I always do that when people come here and want to know how durable the jacket is, I bring them a piece of hemp fabric from the other room, and I tell them, look, you managed to break this, you can do whatever you want to it. You managed to break it, obviously, don't stab it with something. If you manage to break it with your bare hands, you get whatever jacket you want. And and so far, nobody could break the fabric, could break it into. So obviously that still means you to take care of it carefully, like not to put it, I don't know, under a truck or stuff like that. But if you wear it like you would do with a regular jacket, there is no reason. You should have it for, let's say in more positive term, you should have it for the rest of your life.
And on the weaving side, what type of weave do you use?
We use a couple of them. So for some of the models, we have what is called plain weaving, where you have the warp and the weft, and basically the one goes like this and the other one goes like that. So that's plain weaving, it's called. We also have denim style. Denim style, it's called the English twill or jean style. It has a different pattern. It goes like this.
More of an angled. So for people who aren't seeing it, the plane is just a simple up and down perpendicular.
Yes.
Where the English, you're going more
English
at an angle.
twill. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Like oblique, basically. And then you have herringbone. Herringbone, it goes, I don't know how to describe it. It goes like this.
Kind of like chevrons, little mountain peaks over and over again.
Yes, exactly. And so this is what we use, but most of it here it's plain weave. For what we have for the suit jackets, for the suits, it's plain weave.
Okay. So what do you know about the reason that it's illegal across the world? Because it being such a useful plant, a plant that is sustainable, easy to grow, little water, why would it be illegal to grow something like that?
Because it has a high cousin. It has a cousin which created a lot of trouble, because it's a mind-opening drug, and maybe some people didn't like that. I don't know because you're not an obedient worker if you're not an obedient if you find out about that plant. It's probably because of its cousin, I would say. I'm talking about industrial hemp. Industrial hemp in Romania, for instance, in 2000 they promulgated a law, which is very funny because in the 90s, so hemp was always legal in here. Communists were growing it. Grandparents, grand-grandparents worked in hemp fields. It was regular, right? And then in the 90s, countries in the West saw that there is an interesting plant, this one, and the communists maybe were using it for a reason. So they started to legalize it in various countries, starting with United Kingdom in 1993, followed by France in 1994, followed by Germany in 1996 after a fair. I think it was in Dresden. I think the fair was in September 1996, and in November 1996 Germany legalized it. The Nordic countries in 1999. I saw, as far as I know, US did their first experimental crops in Hawaii in 1999. Same for Australia. So the world started to open in the 90s. That's why I say although it's a plant and a fiber used for many years, many thousands of years, it somehow was rediscovered in the 90s. It was like, but it's still right now in 2022 as we're speaking, it's still an industry in diapers. It's still in diapers. People are very much unaware. As I was telling you, when we started the business and we wanted to buy hemp suit as a keyword on Google, it was so cheap because nobody was searching for it.
Hemp suit?
Yeah, nobody's looking for a hemp suit. Some people are looking for a hemp jacket, maybe, but nobody was looking for hemp suits. It was inexistent. Like 10 people searched the whole year. You know, probably me and a couple of my friends, I told them to search. We were these people. Very, very few people. So and funny enough, after the 90s in Eastern Europe, we started to stigmatize it again, which is like, it's just a paradox. So in 2000 they gave a law at one point in which they thought that all hemp is illegal. It doesn't
Even
matter.
the industrial hemp?
Yes, it doesn't matter if it's industrial hemp and you cannot get high, or it's the regular hemp and the regular hemp, the Indian hemp that you can smoke. So there were cases, very funny cases of, let's say, an old lady, 70 years old lady from the village side, that had some hemp seeds somewhere in the attic, threw them on the land, grew some hemp, and the neighbors saw and thought she's growing drugs. So they went to the local police, and the police, you know, cut them, and they're like, ridiculous stuff. Because, yeah, and you see things at the news like grandma is growing marijuana, and this type of very unnecessary things, which is again a particular paradox, because our national outfit, the Romanian national outfit, it's made out of hemp. It's hemp or linen, mostly hemp, because hemp was also the fiber of the peasants. Linen was more the fiber of what we call the bourgeoisie, of the well-off people that were doing well, that were that had land and had peasants working for them. They were using linen. It was more expensive, more fine. Hemp was rough. It was for the peasants. Everyone had hemp trousers and hemp blouse, basically. So that's funny, but I think it is stigmatized because of its cousin. But slowly again, and that's great thing, more and more countries are decriminalizing it, meaning it's still illegal, but you're not going to get punished if you're caught doing it, which is the first step, I think.
Yeah, that's a huge step. In fact, in the United States, which the little I've looked into the history, the war on drugs that they started back in, I don't know what year it was, I'm terrible at history, but that was a big push, or one of the reasons why other places in the world started to stigmatize it. There's a lot of, I guess, conspiracies around, maybe it was the cotton people of the world that they wanted to push out hemp because it was a competitor. Some people say it was the paper mills that were trying to push it out. There's probably a small bit of truth from all of them. But I think the war on drugs was a big push. And I've been an open proponent recently of various different substances, whether it's marijuana. I know right now they're doing a lot of studies on psilocybin at Johns Hopkins. There's I want to say, MDMA being used very successfully with PTSD and various other substances, but with marijuana especially, it has been such an integral part for thousands of years in many places. In fact, you mentioned that you spent some time in India. Was that a big part of the culture down there?
Yes. In India, people, well, I stayed for 1 year only. I was a 1 year vagabond in India and Nepal, because after 6 months, my visa expired and you have to move. So it was easy to go to Nepal. And then from there, I went back to India, and then back to Nepal, and then back to India.
What took you to India?
I wanted to visit the Saptapuri, the 7 holy cities. They say that if you visit the whole 7 holy cities in a lifetime, you get out of samsara, right? And
out of samsara,
yes, the circle of birth and death. So you know the view of if you want, we can talk about it. And then you enter into moksha, which is the liberation, into nirvana, if you want. So you had to visit all the 7 holy cities.
So how was nirvana? Pretty good?
I don't know. I haven't reached there yet.
You didn't make it to all 7?
I did. I visited all. I visited all of them.
You decided to come back and help someone else make their way?
Well, yeah. Now I'm a household man. How do you say a household? I have the lady and a daughter, so I am here doing my work as a household. But yeah, there it was really good, and it's illegal. It's illegal to smoke, but it's also in their tradition. Indians don't drink alcohol. It's really expensive. I mean, expensive to the extent that you would pay more for a beer in India than you would do in Europe, for example.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and people don't
mostly
drink.
Just for tourists.
Yeah, they're just for tourists. You buy them just at a particular place called the wine shop, That's the only, you don't buy it everywhere at all, or any other store. You need an ID to buy it. Wine, it's really, really rare. I've never seen regular Indians drinking wine. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I was going at that particular time, but it's they do not have a culture of drinking like we have, for instance, in Europe. In Europe, it's a drinking culture from everywhere, like vodka, very far east. In Russia, we have a similar type of traditional 60% alcohol tuika. Right, you go everything. It's basically Scotch, whiskey, Scotland, all these places. Which
I'm excited to dip in that tuika. That
yeah. My grandpa is drinking it in the morning every morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I should have offered you. Yeah. You want me to bring you a glass so you try it?
Yeah, let's try some tuika.
Okay.
All right. So we've got the. Let me write this down. What's the name of this alcohol again?
It's tuika.
Suika.
Yeah, tuika.
Like Suica?
It's like a T with a comma below. It's like in Ionut. IONUT, but the T is with the comma below. It's called T. It's like TZ. Tuika.
That's very complicated. So
no, it's very easy language. Very easy language.
And so you say salut, but there's another one that you said you also said as well.
Norok.
Norok.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that one down too.
NOROC.
NOROC.
November, Oscar, Romeo, Oscar, Charlie.
As I go to each place, I'm trying to learn all the different cheers. And apparently in Hungarian, it's this 5-syllable weirdness that I couldn't get. I got to look it up. But norok.
Norok. I hope that you would like it. It's made by my grandfather.
Oh, he made it?
Yeah, he made it. He made it, yeah.
And what is it made from?
You can have various things. You can have apples, but this is not the apple one. And you can have, how do you say prune?
Prune?
Prune, yeah, prune. It's in French.
Okay.
Yeah, that
like
one.
Like the small, okay.
Yeah, that's the one that you're having right now.
Norok?
Norok.
Ooh, that is something else. You could probably put that in your car and drive.
It's my grandpa is having this every morning.
So I'm not going to go blind, am I?
No. Au contraire, because he says that he drinks it every morning because it opens his eyes.
The exact opposite. Well, what is it? About 9 a.m. kids don't drink at 9 a.m. But unless you're in Transylvania with an amazing hemp master,
it's just the custom. I should have served you also with some bread and salt. That would have been the custom. I should have brought you some bread and salt. You break a little bit of a bread loaf, dip it in some salt, and have it. And have this. This would have been like the proper traditional introduction for the region.
Well, I will definitely make sure I come back and we can do the proper way.
Would love it.
Your hospitality has been through the roof, though. Yesterday, we had conversation after conversation over a very traditional meal. We had some warm soup that was very traditional for the
Chorba.
And it's kind of funny. We have this phrase that we were talking about yesterday in the United States: beer before liquor, never sicker. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear. So you go from the higher alcohol content down to the lower. But here it's the exact opposite, right? What's the phrase that you said?
Yeah, well, in Romanian it's like vinul după bere e plăcere, bere după vin e un chin. So wine after beer, it's a pleasure. Beer after wine, it's a drag.
So you go beer before the meal.
Oh, well, yeah. You always start like with something. Well, let's say you can start with a shot of tuika, right? That it's perfectly fine. Although this has maybe 60% alcohol. If a regular wine has 12%, if whiskey, I don't know, maybe 40%, this has 60% alcohol, right? So you start with a shot. Then you can go to have a beer. And then you can move to wine. And then you can move to whiskey or scotch or whatever you fancy. But you do not go. I mean, this is the rule here. You never go backwards. You never start with whiskey and then you drink beer. It's like a big no-no in here. It's like, you don't do that.
Well, we got it completely backwards over there. I've tried both, and both works for me. So
it works if I don't mix them very much. Like if I drink whiskey and I drink a good whiskey, I know that I will not feel drunk. But if I drink bad whiskey, or if I just mix whiskey with beer and then again whiskey, it's going to mess me up.
Mess you up. I need to do more self-experimentation. I'll do that for the next few years of my life, and I'll get back to you. But that was delicious, the Suica.
Yeah.
And do you know which this kind was? This plum, or you said it was apple or plum? So like a fruit.
No, it was not apple.
It was the prune, not plum. Okay. Which is a prune? A prune is a dried plum, right? Or am I don't know my fruit, apparently. It's like the raisin of raisin is to grape as prune is to plum.
I must say that it's not my first language, English, so I must excuse myself to all the listeners have to bear me.
You speak fantastic. So when we left off, we were talking about the war on drugs and how hemp has definitely taken a huge hit to productivity. Right now, it's still very expensive because of that. I think there's a movement towards getting more and more production facilities, which is going to lower the price.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the cost of growing it is much less due to the decreased, if not, you said the industrial hemp, you don't need insecticides. I know with the high cousin, as you call it, or the THC heavy ones, I know you do through other friends that they do cultivate marijuana plants. But it just seems inevitable that is going to take a rise. Capitalism, it takes things that are more productive. As you said, the Soviets were all into, so is capitalism. And when you mix the two, and maybe we can get into that at some point. So what I think is important is for us to have a balance in everything. And so whether you believe that there's an ethical or a moral reason not to use the psychedelic, or it's not really psychedelic, but psychoactive substance of THC, I think it's very hurtful if we completely shut out anything and not have the conversation. I think too often humanity has had a bad reaction to something and completely cut it out of their diet or habits, and we have suffered because of it. And I think part of that is, first of all, we're all different, and where a peanut will kill my nephew, for me it's a delicious treat. And I think with everything you can. So when you were down in India, you said it was illegal, but people were still using it quite a bit. What was the typical use? Was it just recreational? You said some of the, I guess, spiritual men use it, or is that just in the past?
All the time. They in India, it's very common to smoke. It's very, very common. So as I was saying, they do not have alcohol deeply rooted into their culture. It's something for very rich people, but most of the Indians, I would say that they smoke. Either they smoke what they call bidis, unfiltered cigarettes, smoked by the tuk-tuk drivers, for example, or they smoke this high cousin. It's I think it's maybe a movement that, I don't know, started a long time ago. It became an art in the 70s, maybe. All the hippies, starting with the Beatles, going to Rishikesh, and then all the hippies traveling in the 70s through India, through Afghanistan, to find like good charas, to find good hashish. You were mentioning about psychedelics and how it's about moderation, and one of my personal heroes, Terence McKenna, very funky guy, living in Hawaii. At the end of his life, he was living there, and I always listened to him, and he kind of like shaped my thought. I'm coming from a generation that I had access to YouTube. I was born in 1992, And so I had access to YouTube when YouTube started, and we had internet in Romania. Romania, we have excellent internet, by the way, excellent internet, third best internet in the world, they said, after Singapore and Hong Kong. So, and we had a lot of hackers. We have even a city called Hackerville.
Really, in Romania?
Yeah, it's nearby from here. You wouldn't believe it. It's like maybe it's Râmnicu Vâlcea. It's next to Sibiu. And we had Hackerville, a city full of hackers, basically like a Silicon Valley, if you want, of hackers. And so we have high-speed internet and early internet. So it was really good to listen to these people on YouTube, and it really helped you shape your mind, your thought as a teenager, basically. And he was talking like moderation and how you should use the plant. He was obviously not living by that rule because he was smoking a lot and every day. But he said that the best way to smoke weed is like once per week. When you're going to lock yourself in your room, you're going to close the light, you're going to close the light bulb, and you're going to smoke in silent darkness. That's how you should smoke.
He smoked in darkness, huh?
Well, I don't know. He was saying that would be the best way. Once per week in silent darkness. He used to take a lot of psilocybin in silent darkness. And this is like, if anyone is interested in doing psilocybin and magic mushrooms, I can tell them about a place where they can do it. Because nowadays
I'm listening.
Because the thing is, everyone is, well, where do I do that? Where do I get them from? And maybe everyone knows where to get the LSD from. You have California Sunshine, which is very popular, and you can find it in India too, but you don't know where. But for magic mushrooms, there is a place in India. It's called Vatar Canal. It's close to Kodai Canal. And if you go to Kodai Canal, from there you can take a bus and go to Vatar Canal. And I think it's Vattar, and then Canal with a K, Kanal. And over there it's very, very common. Very, very common. Even the tuk-tuk drivers, even the taxi cab people, they will tell you where you can find it, or they will bring it to you. And it doesn't cost a lot, and you can have a full trip. A full trip, right? Obviously, for anyone who's done that, certain settings is very important, but you can find it there. Vatar Canal, Kodai Canal in India, south of India.
So while you were down in India, did you try to, you used the word talking about THC, that it opens your mind. Did you try a lot of mind-opening experiences while you're down there?
Well, I had a year. I took a sabbatical year, I think you would call it. And so the point was to get out of the comfort zone. And I traveled like a hobo, like a vagabond. I just slept, I think, 2 times in a hotel. One time because my lady came to visit me, and it was she came straight from Paris. And I thought, okay, I cannot bring her to a hostel in a bed with another 10 people. So we need to go to a hotel. And the second time I was in Dwarka, which is a holy city in India. And I think I ended up there because I was just walking a lot, and I lost a lot of pounds by just walking and eating rice. And I was having diarrhea. And I couldn't control it. I couldn't, because in India, if your stomach is not ready, I don't care if you're for a year in India, at one point it's going to hit you. And because if you eat street food, you want to try street food, it's going to hit you. You're not the way that we eat here in the West or in the Occident. It's very, very different than how people eat in Orient. So I would say anyone going to India, you need to stay for minimum 3 weeks. Minimum 3 weeks, otherwise not even a point going.
Just to get through the shits.
Yeah. Exactly. And for your brain to accustom with the place, for your brain to get accustomed with the smell, with the color, with the vibe, with everything, you need minimum 3 weeks. But yeah, and your belly is not going to be ready for this. It's definitely, you can, and it's not even a point to take Western medicine to India. It's really, really stupid. Like you take something for the floor, intestinal, right? How we call it. It's not going to work. It's not going. Our medicine is not ready for what they have there. So you need to take their medicine if you want. If you have a. So I had this trouble. I said, okay, I need to stop. I can no longer walk. So I stopped at a hotel. But otherwise, I was traveling just by train, like cheap trains, by bus.
Is it true that they have trains that people just come and run and jump on the side, and there's just bodies hanging off all over?
Absolutely. They have three classes. They have the AC, which is the air condition, which is like first class, if you want. It's very important people, very rigid people. They stay like this all 10 hours. They don't move. They're important. They have a status in the society. And then there is the we call it like a couchette, maybe it's the sleeping compartment where you sleep, where you have some beds. It can be 6 beds in per type of room, and these rooms are interconnected by a tunnel type of. It's a wagon. There is like no door in the wagon. The whole wagon is a sleeping. It's a sleeping room. And I was traveling. That's the second class, and then you have the third class, where you have people that are just on the top of you basically get a ticket. They basically sell as many tickets as people ask. It doesn't matter if they estimate that 30 people can fit in a wagon. They are going to sell 150 if they need it. And people
so any real estate, people just grab on and hang out.
Yeah, and then you can find wherever you find a place.
Did you ever try that out, or is that a little too dangerous for you?
No. Of course I did. I did. But it's just too crowded. It's too crowded. I think I would have never been able to try that now with all this pandemic going on. It would have been impossible. But yeah, I've tried that. I heard that Gandhi was traveling like that. But still, he booked all that compartment by himself. He had this thing to travel by himself in the third compartment, which it's funny in a way, because you book it all for yourself, even though you're traveling in the third compartment, and all these nice people, they don't have where to stay because just Gandhi's having all the compartment.
Hold up, Gandhi was about giving up all your worldly possessions. How's he going to afford the whole entire compartment?
Because he was Gandhi. I mean, and it's funny because some of this like environmental thing, it's quite paradoxical. So when that lady Greta Thunberg, right, she wanted to go to New York, and she was thinking, okay, I'm not going to go by flight because that carbon emissions, etc. I'm going to go by boat. And I find that because she hired 5 people, right, to take a boat from Sweden to go to New York. After these 5 people arrived in New York with her, they took a flight home, right? And then she hired another 5 people from New York to go back to Sweden via a boat. And then all these 5 people from New York took another flight home. So you're not really helping the planet. Better you just take a flight and you fly back and forth, and there is one person, right? 2 flights, rather than 5 people each time. So 10 people. So, it's a little bit of a paradoxical of how do you understand the environmental cause, right? I mean, sometimes, but as they say.
Do you do things for the view of what it looks like, or do you do things because it's what you actually believe?
It's just that sometimes it's just common sense. Like, people forgot about common sense. What is common sense? It makes sense. But yeah, it's paradoxical and funny. But so in India, it's you travel I was traveling a lot, and yet they smoke a lot, and you can find plenty of stuff. So for all the people, again, Vatar Canal next to Kodai Canal in India, south, magic mushrooms. If you want to find charas is a type of hashish. It's not really hashish. It's more potent than hashish.
So hashish, for those who don't know, it's it's the leftover of the marijuana, and they concentrate it down. Am I correct there? What's hashish?
Well, I'm not a specialist of this. I'm sure that there are other people able to explain this way better than me. I think it's more concentrated. You have more THC in it, and I think it's done when the plant is dead, when the plant is no longer alive. I might be wrong. Again, I am simply a traveler. I'm a vagabond. I do not possess any particular knowledge about this.
The only knowledge I have of hashish is when I was in Morocco. That's what people were smoking.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I guess marijuana, the actual flower was too expensive. So they'd get this little really dark brown ball and they break a little piece off with their thumbnail and throw it in a little spliff. In
India, you do like what is called snakes out of the charas. Charas it's a method of or a formula or of even more concentrated THC. I think, might be wrong again because it's been a lot of time since I traveled in India, but I think you can get up to 30% THC in charas, which is a lot. And you do snakes, meaning you take a little bit, for anyone that can see, if not I will try to, maybe you can try to explain. You take a little bit of, it's this dark
almost
brown.
like a hard Play-Doh.
Exactly.
Clay.
And then you do this. You do this.
Roll it across your palm.
Yeah, and it becomes like a little snake. And then you just put that snake in there. That's all you do. That's how you do
like in a
with charas.
cigarette that you roll up, or
yeah. If you want, you can mix it with some tobacco, and you can find that in Manali. Manali, it's in north of India, Himachal Pradesh. That's really the place, and they're like some crazy place. There's also a place called Manala, and in Manala, people think about themselves that they're saints. Wow, you need to go there. So they would never give you something in their hand. They would put it on the ground and you would take it, but they would not give it to you because you're in India they have this caste system where you have different levels, and they're like the Brahmins.
So we're unclean.
Yeah, you're like a little bit like the unclean, which is the fifth type. The fifth type, you have the Brahmins, which are the priests. They are connected, the connection between God and the humans, mortals. You have the kings and the politicians. You have the merchants, and you have the type of, they're not slaves. In India, they did not have slaves. It's important to note this. But the Sudras, how they're called, they're more like the helpers. They help the king, they help the politician, they help the merchant, they help the Brahmins, they help everyone.
And is that the lowest class?
Yeah, that's the lowest class. And then you have
Are those the ones that make the shoes? I hear the shoemakers for some reason are looked down
Sudras?
upon. Yeah,
maybe it can be. You can also be a mix. Traditionally speaking, that was very bad. If your father, you always take the caste of your father. If your father, for instance, was Vaishya, which I think are the merchants, and you marry with a Brahmin daughter, that was very bad for a Brahmin's daughter, because she would marry down. She was going down, exactly, a caste, but the son would be also a Vaishya, would also be. Again, I might be mistaken. This has been a long time, but I know for a fact that if you marry down, that's not good. Nowadays, they mix a lot. It's no longer like the case before. You can mix a lot, but yeah. So charas there. You can also have if you travel to Pondicherry, which is also south of India. That's where the French were the colonialists, and you found some places very funky places. You might find some acid. Nobody gives you acid these days, right? But you can find some funky acid there. Weed, I think you can find it everywhere in all the states of India, with the exception maybe of Gujarat. I've never found weed in Gujarat. I don't know why. It's the only state where it's illegal to drink. So that was the only state where I did not smoke, let's say. It's the only place where I couldn't find it.
It's interesting that each region has their own kind of drug that they stick to.
Yeah. I mean, regions in India are like states in the US. You move to a completely different state, it can be a total different mindset. It can be even a local different outfit. It's just different. It's like exactly traveling from one state to another in the US, or to give a better example, it's like traveling from one country to another in Europe. It's like going from one state to another in India. It's a huge country. Lovely, full of colors. I would recommend to anyone. I would really recommend people to go and travel. I had a lot of experiences in India. Like at one point, everything was stolen from me.
Oh no.
Yeah. I was traveling with, so Madame came to visit me. She came to visit me.
And Madame is your wife?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So Sandra came to visit me, and we were traveling. We were in Amritsar, which is the headquarters, if you want, of the Sikh people. These people with the turban and long beard, very cool people.
Sikh, okay.
Sikh people, yeah. Very cool people. Like they always look so badass. Like, you know, these people, big beards and big turbans on their head, so manly, lovely. And very, very friendly. And they have there the Golden Temple. And at the Golden Temple, by the way, they offer free food 24/7. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Nobody asks you what's the color of your t-shirt. They just give you free food. That's the temple with free food.
Wow.
The Golden Temple. So when people are begging outside of the Golden Temple for food, it's just ridiculous. You should never trust them as tourists. You should always just tell them to go and eat at the temple. A lot of kids doing that. But so we were there, and we're going to Agra, where the Taj Mahal is, one of the 7 wonders of the world. And I was visiting Agra before by myself, but I refused to enter in Taj Mahal because I didn't find it fair.
What do you mean?
Well, they were like, so the Muslims, they could enter for free on Friday. The Indians were paying 100 rupees. And me as a foreigner, I had to pay 1,500 rupees. And I said, that's not fair. If anyone comes to my country, to my region, and they go to a museum, they pay the same amount. It doesn't matter the color of their t-shirt or when they were born or where they were born. So I refused based on that principle. But then my lady came and she said, well, it's the temple of love, isn't it? I mean, we don't go there. It's not real love. We are here. We are in this city. We are in this region. How can we not go to the Taj Mahal? I mean, how ridiculous that is. So I said, all right, if it's the temple of love, let's go there. So we took a train. We took a night train, and we were in the sleeping compartment, where it's always fun because you always see people laughing and eating and putting music and dancing and selling you stuff. It's full of life, right? If in comparison with the first class, we're very rigid, oriented, or exactly people. So we were in the sleeping compartment, and I was sleeping on the down bed. She was on the middle bed, and she said she was cold because it was still northern India. And so I told her, yeah, come next to me, we'll sleep together. And we had all our luggages underneath. And we woke up in Agra the next day around 5 in the morning. It was a night train, and I told her, okay, look, take your luggage, and I will take mine. I had two pieces of luggage, a big backpack and a smaller backpack. And she took her purse because it was in the back in the end back underneath. And then she said, well, all the rest are gone. I said, what do you mean they're gone? He said, well, they're gone. They're no longer here. I said, oh my God, what do you mean? And I was looking at it, was nothing. And so I had just my sandals. I was wearing socks and sandals, which I think is quite the representation of virginity. I think that's the symbol of virginity.
Or dad, either way, either virginity, yeah, or you've proven that you aren't a virgin. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was having socks and sandals. I had a hoodie to cover us both. I had just my phone, but no wallet, no passport, no ID, no charger to my phone. Just my phone and 150 rupees. Now to imagine how much 150 rupees, back when I was in India, 75 rupees was 1 euro. So 50 rupees was 2 euros. That is like $3. Let's say I had $3 with me. That was all the money left.
Wow.
And so I ended up in Agra. So we went to the local police, and the local police, there was a family of thieves, a man, a lady, and their son, very young son. They were sleeping there. And I told the police, look, I think someone stole our stuff. I said, all right, don't worry, have this tea. So they gave me a tea. We drank the tea. I was very stressed because I had nothing. I had no visa, which is really a problem because I was a clandestine. People didn't know if I was allowed or not, if I was a criminal, a murderer, or whatever I was, because I had no visa. So I couldn't check in anywhere. I couldn't go to any hotel to check, and I had no. So I called. I had no charger for my phone. So I looked at and I had this old phone. So I called immediately. I remember, I think my parents, I said, look, you just block the cards. Just block the cards. cut them off, tell the bank to not to use any transaction allowed, etc., etc. Went to the police officer gave us a team, said okay. I said, oh look, our stuff was stolen. He said, yeah, have this piece of paper, write everything that was stolen. So I wrote, my laptop was stolen, because I got this very cheap laptop, so I can write, I can document everything. All the clothes were stolen, everything was stolen. All right, so he said, I know where your stuff was stolen. I said, that's amazing. Where was it? Well, your train stopped, he looked, in 2 stations. One in Mathura, which is one of the Saptapuri, one of the holy cities, where Krishna was born. And the other one is in New Delhi. He said, I think your stuff was stolen in New Delhi. I said, that's cool. That's excellent. That's perfect. It's a city with 20+ million people. Size more people in New Delhi than are in Romania. So I said, oh, that's great. So how do I find it? He said, I don't know. He said, I don't know how to find it, but I think it was stolen there. I said, oh, great. So with 150 rupees, I bought myself a book, because I found this book about Mullah Nasruddin. And Mullah Nasruddin is a very famous character that has a lot of stories in India, and I could never find a book about him. And somehow in Agra, in the train station, at the bookstore, there was that book. So I paid 100 rupees for it.
So with your last $3, you buy a book?
Yeah, I bought like 100 rupees book, which is maybe $2. So I kept with $1 left. I had no money to return. I had to go back to the Romanian embassy in New Delhi. Because, and this is what I would advise to anyone, when you go into a new country to live for a long period of time, you always first time go to the embassy and you register yourself. Like, hey, I'm here, I'm one of you, I have all my papers here, just copy them. So you have a copy, so you know, in case God knows a war happens, you get me out of here. So people should always do that if they're traveling for a long period of time in one country, or if they want to stay there. So I remember I said, hey, they have a copy. They have a copy of my visa, because I registered to New Delhi Romanian embassy when I arrived there. So I found out this Muslim who was really, really friendly, and he paid for the ticket to go to New Delhi. I had no money. So they paid, he brought us food to eat a little bit, to chill. And I was reading my book on the way to New Delhi, to the embassy. I had no money. I had just a hat. And the hoodie that I had, I left it with the thieves. Because I said, look at them, they're like over there sleeping on the floor with nothing on them, at least to give them this hoodie. Because if I lose everything, what's the point to have a hoodie?
Family that was at the
I left it to
station?
Them. Yeah, because I said, what's the point? If they're going to
take everything else, might as well give it all up.
Exactly. So I had this. So we went to the embassy. And the embassy said, all right. It was because I was dressed in a kurta pajama. I was dressed like in a full Indian attire, and with the hat. I had this Manali hat.
Still have the socks on?
Yeah, I was with the socks and sandals. Very, very virgin-like. And we arrived there. And I arrived there, and they looked at me like, what is this gentleman doing over here? It doesn't look like. And I was looking like Indian-like.
You just came back from that place with the magic mushrooms.
I think so we entered, and they said, all right, we can do you a new passport, no problem, we give you the visa in here, no problem, just give us your ID. I said, well, my ID was stolen as well. Oh, I said, that's a problem, because that means you need to go back to Romania, to your hometown, to the city hall of your hometown, make an ID at the city hall, and then return, and then we can make you a passport. I said, that's just simply stupid. I will make I'm going to be I'm going to look very stupid if I go home because someone stole my stuff. It's not cool to end the story like that. So I said, okay, in that case, they said, you need to go to that specific department of the Indian government where they might let you stay in, but we don't know. It's how you talk with them. And so I looked on Google reviews. They had 1.2 out of 5. 1.2 out of 5 out of a couple of thousand reviews. They never replied. They're like this, they're like that. And I thought, oh God, they're going to send me home. I'm such a stupid. So I said to my lady, okay, why don't we go to the train station? Because maybe, they have this, what they call CCTV surveillance. Maybe we know in what train we were, we know the number of the wagon, we know on what, where did we stop. So at what time we stopped. So they should have a camera to see if it was there, because the other city was in Mathura, which is a small city, and it's a holy city. But New Delhi, 22 million people, whatever it could be. So we ended up there and we looked for like half an hour for someone to see who's dealing with CCTV surveillance. And then we finally found someone and they told us, it doesn't work. CCTV surveillance doesn't work. I said, no, you have the biggest train station probably in India. It's a huge train station in New Delhi. Imagine, for a train station for 22 million people, huge. Your CCTV surveillance doesn't work? I said, no, it doesn't work. I said, oh, great. So I said, maybe we should just go to the police. They have a police station over there. I mean, what were the chances? 0.0001% that the police station, maybe they have something. So we ended up there, and the police looked at me and said, are you Russ? I said, yes. He said, well, we found your stuff.
No way.
I said, oh my God, that's great. Where was it? I said, well, our theory is that the thief got scared and he just dropped them, and we found them and we brought them here to the police. So then I looked inside and my wallet was there with all the visa, with everything. And the only thing that they stole, they stole, yeah, right, they stole, was 50 rupees, because that's all I had in my wallet, 50 rupees, which is a dollar, that's all I had. And I looked if everything was all right, and I wanted just to move as quickly as out of there, because I had a lot of Manali charas. I have a lot of these charas with me.
Oh, you had some drugs on you?
Yes. I was hoping that they're not going to search that deep, but they didn't, and they were there. So I just took them out of the police station and took a picture at the end, and that's how I got all my stuff back.
That's insane, man. I cannot believe you got your shit back.
Yeah, I did. A couple of stories like this, and a couple of stories when I was one time in Goa. And I was traveling in Goa because it was really funky to travel in Goa. And you meet these most incredible people over there. Like, I met this 60+ years old Swedish guy who was living in this hostel, and he was smoking charas every day. Like, not every hour. He was waking up, wake and bake, smoking from the early sunrise. And it was really cool. So when I was there, they told me, look, you should go and see this tree. It's like ancient 2,000+ years old tree. It's ever since the Buddha, 2,500 years old tree. So I said, my God, I need to go and see this tree. It was in a forest. You had to cross a couple of beaches, and then you reached to this tree. So I was going there, and I had to move. I took a beer for myself. I thought that it was so hot. I thought I'm going to, and I need to take something refreshing. So I took a beer. And I ended up on a beach. I stayed there for a while, and then after half an hour of walk in the forest, I arrived at this plateau where was this huge tree, and over there I saw this yoga teacher alongside a pupil and 3 Tibetan guys. And the yoga master, which, by the way, I found out something interesting from him. He said that you can only be called master if you've done a craft for minimum 15 years.
50?
15.
Ooh. Oh, 15.
15, okay. Yeah. If you've done something for 15 years, then you can be called a teacher. Then you can be called, a professor of something. Like, otherwise, because most of the Westerners, they go to India, they stay for 2 weeks, they take a yoga diploma. Like, now you're a yoga teacher. You can go back to the States, you can go back to Europe, and you can teach yoga online or whatever, right? And he was telling me, no, you need 15 years. After 15 years of doing something, then you're a real master of it. Like, doing it consistently every day. So he took this banana leaf, because some Indians, they eat on a banana leaf. They put the rice on a big banana leaf, and he was rolling it in what he called a chillum. A chillum is like a bong type of. It's a long thing that you smoke it like this, right? That's a chillum out of a banana leaf. And some of these Tibetans, they have some charas. So he started to put that thing, and I was just around. I thought, well, I could maybe hang around. They look like fine people and fine gentlemen. So we stayed there a little bit, and then we had some good time together. We started to talk. It was really cool. And then suddenly this guy came from nowhere, and he yelled at us. He showed like this, like a type of small card. Could
like
have
a
been
badge or something.
Like a badge. It could have been a student card. I have no idea. I didn't even see it. We were in a different dimension. And he was yelling that he's the police, that we all need to stop, that we're all going down to the section. The yoga teacher, he just spoke something in Hindi with him, and he never had a problem afterwards. Him and his pupil, they were off. So they started to look at me because I was a foreigner, and the 3 Tibetan guys, because they were also foreigners, not from India. And so they told me, okay, I need to come to the station. I said, why do I need to come to the station? What have I done? He said, look what you're doing, all of you. I said, I don't even know what we are doing. And then he put me to empty my pockets. So I said, look, this is all I have, my keys, a bottle that I carry with me because I don't want to throw it in the forest, of course, and I have, again, 100 rupees. I was never having money in it. And he said, give me the 100 rupees. I'm definitely not going to give you the 100 rupees. You can chill. And then he started to yell at the Tibetans. Because the Tibetans, I don't know. The Tibetans in India are like, I don't know, maybe like Belgian people in France, or like Mexicans in the US. You view them like they're from a little bit from the south,
lower socioeconomic
exactly.
status.
So we can mess them a bit if you want. So they started to yell at them, and I was like, good, I had to get out of here. And suddenly out of the forest came this guy, tall guy, blonde guy with a long beard, with nothing, just ragged clothes and a bag, and he was collecting trash. Just putting. I went to him and said, who are you? And he was a Dutch guy. The cleaner of the forest. And he said he's just living in the forest, and he's going to see his Russian friend who's also living in the forest there in Goa. I said, oh, that's great. And I studied 1 year in the Netherlands, so I knew a little bit of Dutch, like pretty kennis te maken. Nice meeting you. How are you doing? I knew that. Oh, I'm good, thank you. I'm also traveling. I knew just a little bit of Dutch to talk him into.
To talk to the cleaner of the forest.
The cleaner of the forest.
That's great.
So we started talking. He said, look, you need to get me out of here, because Dutch people, they speak excellent English. That's very well known. I think they're the most English friendly country in Europe, at least. And we spoke English, and we said, look, you need to get me out of this. It's like, he's insane. I don't know what he wants from me. I said, yeah, don't worry, come with me. We'll go together to visit the Russian lady in the forest. And yeah, we were collecting. I was helping him to collect trash, which is something else that I find it very enjoyable doing in India, collecting the trash. So we were doing that, and then we ended up, the guy yelled a lot. Where am I going? I said, I'm just coming back. I'm just going a bit. I didn't care much. And then we ended up in this home. Well, home is maybe it's a lot said. It's just like improvised rag type of carton and textile type of home. House. It's maybe
just in the middle of the forest.
Just in the middle of the forest, and the Russian lady was not there. And she said, "Yeah, it's my friend. She lives here with her daughter."
Wow.
Her daughter. I said, "Wow, that's impressive." I also wanted to live like a vagabond, but I don't know if I will live with my kid in a forest. So it was not crazy people. Crazy people said, yeah, maybe. Well, she's not here. She also collects trash from the people in the forest. I said, that's cool. So we started to walk, and we ended up on a beach again. And he said, I know a good place there where we can drink tea. Tea is very common in India, to drink chai. Very, very common, which, by the way, in Romanian, we also call it chai. And my idea, I think the gypsy people, they brought this, I think, to the Romanian language, because we call it the same way. And we also have a couple of words which are very similar to Hindi, like mishta cha. In Hindi means it's mishto in gypsy language, and which translated into Romanian mishto. So it's interesting. But yeah, so we ended up there. We started having a tea. And he said, yeah, it would be good if we can smoke something. I said, yeah, maybe if you have something. Yeah, I don't have, because I had this trouble with this guy up there. And he had something. So he rolled something and we smoked it. And as we were smoking it, the guy came there with the 3 Tibetans just passing in front, and we're just smoking and looking at them. And it was a fun experience.
Gosh, that isn't just to have a guy come out of the forest, and he's the cleaner of the forest.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said something, and I wanted to circle back to it. And I bring it up because when I was in Hungary, I started talking to a bunch of people, and they started telling me their opinion on gypsies.
Mhm.
It was very derogatory. They said something along the lines of, we view gypsies kind of like Americans viewed black people, except gypsies are actually that bad. I'm like, oh, that's some strong language. What do you mean? He's like, well, you know, like some stereotypes are true. And I'm like, I don't, all I know about gypsies is from American TV, which is probably super incorrect, but someone asked me, or they told me that gypsies originated from the Romanian area.
No, it's not true. You want some more?
Yeah, let's get a little bit more of that.
That's great.
Hello. Can we reach? There we go. Yeah, we got a big old table here. I'm excited to get this video out because they got awesome textile in the back, hats, shorts, jackets.
And drinking some of this tweaker. All right. So no, it's not true. Gypsies, they originate India and Pakistan.
India and Pakistan?
Yeah. They settle not most of them. There are Spanish gypsies and French gypsies, and they make excellent music. Excellent musicians, top musicians.
So they're from that area, but they're a mobile people, like the ultimate vagabonds, right?
Yeah,
is that how they've always been, or are they like a displaced people?
Now, again, I do not have much background knowledge. I've never studied this, but they up until the 50s, gypsies were like Jews. They were roaming around until the British created the state of Israel, which you have. I think there is a very, very American company called Ben and Jerry's. You know Ben and Jerry's, and do you know that they refused to call Israel? They called it the occupied Palestinian territories.
Wow,
that is funky. So Ben and
Jerry's,
ballsy. That is.
I mean, in America, we have some weird things going on with Israel. Norok. Yeah, it's always been like a love relationship, America and Israel. It has to do with like Christians believe that when Christ comes again, we need to be on Israel's side or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think a lot of evangelists in the US are pro-Israel, and they really donate a lot of money, and nobody cares about Palestine. And
they care, except it's a very negative version of it. Like I spoke with a Muslim on my show a few episodes ago, and we were discussing about how he finds it very disturbing, the things that he hears that people truly believe about his religion. And he had a master's degree in Islamic studies, and it's completely false what the mainstream people think is like as far as Sharia law and jihad. And we talked a little bit about it, but anyways, we got a little sidetracked off the gypsies. Why? Because I had heard that before, and then just recently someone said, "Wait, Romania, that's where the gypsies are from, right?" Why would people think that?
Because we have a bunch of them here. That after the 90s they started to roam around more. But gypsies, if it's not their fault, it's our fault. It's completely the failure of the Romanian system. Because during the communist era, Ceausescu, which was the leader, if you want, of the Communist Party,
was it an authoritarian dictatorship?
Yeah. It was the worst in Eastern Europe. It was the worst. We had a lot of troubles with what we call the Securitate, the secret police. It was the worst. As a matter of fact, it's the only revolution that was violent, because all the other revolutions in Eastern Europe, they were not violent. They ended up just by people voting for another party. But in here, we had to murder him, to kill him on Christmas Day, like good Christians. We did what God wanted us.
Doing God's work.
Exactly.
On
Christmas Day. It's not even we couldn't wait one more day. We had to do it on Christmas Day. So people hated. They did very bad. Starting from maybe 82 to 89, it was like the tough time.
I know you didn't live during that time, but I'm certain you've asked your parents about how it was. Was it pretty bleak when the Communist Party was in charge over here?
Well,
You showed me a few of the communist blocks, like
Yeah.
the apartment buildings where they just jammed everyone in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't like this from what everyone is saying. Like in the 60s and 70s, people still call that period as the golden age. And Romania did a couple of good moves. Like, for instance, in 1968, the Soviet Union invaded Czechoslovakia because Czechoslovakia rebelled against them. They were a little bit, they were in Central Europe.
They wanted to be more on the western side.
Yeah, because of their positioning. They're in Central Europe. Many people think that Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia is in Eastern Europe. It is not. Prague, it's more west than Vienna. And if people consider Vienna West Europe, or it's Central Europe actually, they must consider Prague Central Europe. So that's a little bit of a mistake that some people are doing. But yeah, they wanted, so the Soviet Union, they invaded Czechoslovakia, they invaded Prague. And Romania was the only country in 1968 that refused, out of all the communist countries, to send troops to invade, because it was wrong. Just because they believe something else, you don't need to invade them. You don't have no rule. No, this is also a very modern idea that if someone is doing something wrong in their country, you as another country, you can judge them. This was inexistent during the colonialist time. That's why if Leopold II, King of Belgium, would do something to the Africans, the Germans or the Americans couldn't do anything. It was their business. This started as an idea after the Nuremberg processes, the Nuremberg trials, sorry, with the Nazis. They said, okay, if you did something that bad, that we are going to, we need to take some measurements.
We're going to step in if there's some sort of genocide or something
exactly.
major like that.
Again, that's why the genocides of the Armenians nobody cares about, because it was before and the Turks did it. And Turkey did it, and nobody talks about that. But up until then, nobody knew that if the Turks were doing something to the Armenians on their land, another country can interfere, because it's like your home, right? You can beat your kids if you want. Nobody's going to tell you not to do it. But after that, after the 40s and the 50s, now if you do something wrong in a country, you can be trialed. Maybe the court in Hague, in Europe, someone in Brussels, they're going to tell you that that's not good, right? So, well, the gypsies, they traveled a lot. To go back to them, they traveled a lot. They moved in here, and it was our fault. I was saying, because we marginalized them. So during the whole communist time, they were not integrated in the society. They were not giving jobs. Right? They were not trying to find a place for them, but like you throw them on the outskirts of the cities, and they need to leave whatever they can, because we're not going to give them job. And who's going to give you job in a communist time? Just the state, because there are no private companies. Everything belongs to the state. In the Marxist point of view, you don't own the home. The state owns it. What it was good is that nowadays it's very difficult, I find it, for people in my generation, right, the millennials, to buy a home. You really need to earn good money if you want to buy a home and own it. Back in the days, you finished the university, right? You finish school, the government will give you a home. Free. No, nothing. Just you get a home, you get a job. So you're settled.
Do they choose the home for you? They just say, hey, this is where you're going to go and this is what you're going to do? Or did you have some choice?
Well, it depends. It depends. If, let's say, you were a chef. You're a good chef. People were like had very specialized jobs. I was studying as a chef. I was studying engineering. Engineers were very well paid. Engineers in Romania in the communist time, they were like IT people nowadays. You can find plenty of them in all sorts, but like very good ones, etc. So you could be a professor. Yeah, they could tell you need to go in that city. If you had some relationships, if you had some connections, right, you might be able to tell them to send you to your hometown. But you need to have some connection for that. Otherwise, wherever there was a spot on the other side of Romania, you were from Utah, you need to go to Los Angeles, you need to go to Wyoming, you need to go to wherever, they would just send you.
And so the Communist Party at the time, because the gypsies weren't part of your people technically,
for 50
they just
years
said,
they had,
hey, there's no job for you, there's no place for you in
they
society.
had to live however they could for 50 years, right? And after the 90s, well, we figured out, well, we still have these people. They're living at the outskirts. They live like crazy slums. They have some types of habits, but we marginalized them for 50 years.
And those habits, from how it was described to me from the Hungarian, was they're thieves. Like, they will go out of their way to steal from you. And if you're out on the outskirts and you have no job, and I think Les Miserables pointed out a pretty good portrait of, you know, what a thief is. It's someone who's so I mean, it can be true, but I think the story behind it's very important.
They're thieves. There are people from Naples who are thieves. There are people from Paris. They're thieves. It's this thief concept is very interesting because it matters a lot how much you steal. Like, gypsies are thieves because they steal a chicken. That's a thief, and you go to jail for stealing a chicken. Like black people, they stole something very petty from a local store, liquor store, and they go to jail. Volkswagen or Siemens, they steal a couple of billions and they're okay because they stole billions. You know? So it's how much you steal. Who do you steal from? Right? If you steal just a little bit, you're a thief. But if you, again, if Siemens had that huge scandal where they stole a couple of billions, they were not thieves. They were like smart entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it. So that's also the problem. They don't steal enough. You know, so they should
steal enough. Steal more next time, and you won't go to jail.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. But it's totally our fault. It's totally a failure of the Romanian system of not being able to integrate these people in the society correctly, train them, educate them, give them jobs, but they are not originally from Romania. That's maybe also important to know. They're not from here. Most of them coming from India, Pakistan. They settle everywhere. You have Mexican gypsies, you have Spanish gypsies, you have French gypsies, you have a lot of Portuguese gypsies, you have a lot of variety of people. They're really nomads. They're really nomad people with their own culture, with their own language. Now Israel, they have a country, they have a state, right? Created by the British in the 50s. And now they slowly dig into Pakistan. Why do I say Pakistan? Into Palestine. And they're just taking more and more and more. And these people have to find new places. And nobody cares about them because all the Western forces, nobody dares.
So wait, the gypsies are in Israel?
I think there were also gypsies. There were gypsies in Egypt. The gypsies they're nomadic people,
but they keep their same culture and language. Are there still a lot here in Romania, or have a lot of them left?
Yeah, we still have gypsies. We have villages of gypsies. They're excellent musicians. Again, they're top musicians that they don't know maybe how to read music, like they haven't studied the conservatory of this, so they're not professional. But if they listen to Tchaikovsky, Shostakovich, if they listen to Eric Satie, they would be able to reinterpret that just by the
bet
year.
They have some good jam bands.
Oh, lovely. In a way, they are like the blues musicians. Like, again, they never studied music. They never studied notes, like B.B. King, right? But he's the god of it. Like, if the guy gets a guitar, God rest him in peace, because I love B.B. King. It will make you cry. It would make you this energy, like meditation, moving through your body. Like, you feel that guitar in B.B. King playing, right? Same like musicians. They're going to play that violin like you're there, especially if you have a couple of more of these tweaker glasses and it's 3 in the morning or 5 in the morning, you know, and they get a violin out. You're going to feel that violin. You can see that these people, they know what they're doing.
So now that we have a little bit more of an open-minded society, I think we can say that the whole worldwide, even places like China, are a lot more open than we'd like to give them credit for. Is there a little bit more integration with the gypsies? Like,
of course.
You showed me a place here in Sibiu downtown, which I can't say enough about the city. I mean, it was beautiful. I've only spent a short time here, but it was gorgeous. The small town, or the inner town. What the Citadel is what it's called.
Yes, yes.
But you showed me this place. It's really cool. It had all these mini shop areas and then a stage for live music and stuff.
Yeah.
Would you see like a gypsy family playing up there, a gypsy community? Would they be invited to something like that?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, they could be invited there. They could also just play. You remember when we first walked in the city center and we saw some kids playing that instrument? We call it accordion, right?
Accordion,
right? You saw two kids. They were kids. They were like maybe in the maybe secondary school, primary school, secondary school.
It's probably like 9 years old, something
9
like
or
that.
10. And they were playing that song, that Italian song from La Casa del Papel. You know that song? All right.
I've watched the show, so in English it's called Money Heist, which everyone should watch that. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think the second, third season kind of dragged a little bit, but that first season was great.
So you know that song, Na mattina, sto lanzato, oh bella ciao, bella. Okay, so they were playing that.
Bella ciao.
Exactly. So they were playing that song. And they were gypsy kids.
So that was a gypsy kid?
Yeah, that was a gypsy kid.
I saw a gypsy kid.
You saw a gypsy kid. So yeah, that was a gypsy kid. And maybe it's fun to say that here in Sibiu, we also have the king of the gypsies. It's true. So it's a self-proclaimed king. It's not like all the gypsies around the world, from Spain to Romania to South America, agree that that's their king, but he's a self-proclaimed king, and he has a house, a huge mansion, if you want, very gypsy-like, in Sibiu.
So there is a guy in Sibiu that proclaims himself the king of the gypsies?
Yeah. His father was initially the king of the gypsies, I think from maybe 90s, or maybe, I might be wrong, but even from the communist time. He self-proclaimed the king of the gypsies. And his son is it's in his place, and they are the king of the gypsies. They have a big home here.
Interesting. Are they like politically motivated at all, or
I think they do have a political party. I think they do have a political party as well. They try to get some minorities in the parliament, etc., to accost them. They have excellent stories. They're excellent storytellers because they were nomads. You have to be an excellent storyteller. There was no other way to, because just like the Indians back in the days when the Vedas and the Upanishads, they were not people were telling stories. People were telling stories, and that's how you pass on the knowledge and the rituals and the habits to the next generation, by telling stories around the fire at night. And so the gypsies are excellent storytellers, excellent musicians as well, as I keep reiterating it. But if you can find gypsy music, I really assimilate it with the blues in the US. I don't know why, because you have not been integrated in the culture, and you need to sing about what you know and about the pains that you've been through. And it's pretty much like the blues, I find it, because it was the same. You're in the field, you collect cotton, you need with the people to have a sense of community, so you're going to sing. This is a very interesting thing to do when you have a bad psilocybin or LSD or acid trip, to stand up and sing. I learned that from Terence McKenna. He was always saying it: you have a bad trip, you start singing, son. That's what you do. So you sing a lot. You sing out loud.
That's great.
Yeah. If you have a bad trip, you sing. Start singing. Start singing whatever you know, whatever you like, whatever your jam is, whatever jazz you like.
One thing that I'd like to ask you to do, if you'd feel comfortable for it, and maybe this will be how we end it, because looks like we've been doing it for a couple hours now.
A couple of hours?
Mm-hmm.
It's been? Okay.
It's time warp, isn't it?
It's, yeah. I feel like we can do this for a couple of more days.
Exactly, especially with this Suika.
With the Suika, yeah. You need to serve it some more.
But you shared a poem with me yesterday, and you said that you love poetry because it can describe things that you can't describe any other way. And would you mind sharing that poem with me?
It's style. It's that one.
Yeah.
That was a poem by Charles Bukowski. He was an American poet with some German origins, but he's an American poet. Back when I was working, I won this award for the most stylish employee. So I had to give something in exchange as a speech for my award. So I told him of this poem, which is called Style. Style is the answer to everything, a fresh way to approach a dull or a dangerous thing. To do a dull thing with style, it's preferable than doing a dangerous thing without it. To do a dangerous thing with style, it's what I call art. Bullfighting can be an art. Boxing can be an art. Loving can be an art. Opening a can of sardines can be an art. Not many people have style. Not many people can keep style. I've seen dogs with more style than men. Although not many dogs have style, cats have it in abundance. When Hemingway put his brain to the wall with a shotgun, that was style. Or sometimes people give you style. Joan of Arc had style. John the Baptist, Jesus, Socrates, Caesar, Garcia Lorca. I've met men in jail with style. I've met more men in jail with style than men out of jail. Style is the difference, a way of doing, a way of being done. 6 herons standing quietly in a pool of water, or you naked walking out of the bathroom without seeing me.
Ionut, thank you so much for the hospitality and the knowledge that you've passed. I love everything you do, and I know you're going to be successful because of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming here. It's really a pleasure for you to. I know that you had a long way from home to arrive to Transylvania, which is a real place, by the way, because most of the people in the US ask me if Transylvania is a real place. It is. It exists. And thank you so much for coming all the way here. It's been really a pleasure. Of course, it's part of the custom. It's part of the culture to be very welcoming to foreigners. So thank you very much for all your efforts for arranging this. It's great.
Well, one last time, Norok.
Norok.
All right, bye everybody.
I am Woodstock.